to all. So thank you again. It is indeed my honor to be able to speak to you all about my journey, about being able to even know that great things were coming. If you can go ahead and go to my slide, I'll be ready to go. So I understand that today we're celebrating being a woman, but I also want to say that we are celebrating humanity. That's what's most important. And when there's a call from humanity, there was a call that was made that I thank the president so much for what she said, that there was a call that was made 101 years ago that's making a difference in my life right now. And so there is still action that's required. Next slide, please. The call from 1971. When I was asked to do this, I was really surprised, 1971. I don't know if you all have done the math, but for me, I wasn't too far removed from that 1971 to understand that someone would realize that women had value, that we brought so much to the table, that we were worth celebrating. And as it was said by the president, one of these days, I pray that there's not a celebration that we need to have, because it would be the opportunity that we all understand. And even as peaceful as they were, the journey needed to continue. So that call from 1971, I would say I was able to answer it. And so I'm so thankful that today I get to sit on the shoulders of those who went before me, that allowed me to serve the government. As a federal employee, I was able to serve in the Marine Corps, and now I'm serving in my community and in my business. So that call from 1971, the celebration from 1971, the call that came in 100 years ago, over 100 years ago, I would say it did not fall on deaf ears with me. And so I'm here to celebrate those shoulders that I get to stand on. And I'm going to ask all of you to think about it as I go through my speech today. Think about it. Whose shoulders are you standing on today? We all have the opportunity to stand on someone's shoulder, and that's what we're celebrating today. We're standing on the shoulder of great women and men who saw that equality was not something that should be foreign, but something that should be natural. Next slide. Call for today. So it was a call from 1971, but I'm going to tell you, it takes actions for today. As we're celebrating today, I'm really thinking about where I'm coming from. I'm a mother as well. I'm a mother of 4 daughters and 3 granddaughters. Yes, 4 daughters and 3 granddaughters. So as I'm thinking about, we're celebrating Women Equality Day. When I joined the Marine Corps, there were things that women could not do. We weren't allowed to do certain things. And now I'm thinking about my daughter who's going off to college. And right now for her, opportunities have no boundaries. So why is that? Because someone answered the call and someone took actions that allowed me this day to move forward and allow my daughters in the future to go forward, go way beyond I've ever went. So now I'm thinking, what is my actions? Here are my questions that I had for myself, and I want you all to think about it. With this call to action, can I lead? These were the questions that I asked myself as I was preparing for this. Can I lead with conviction? But that conviction has to be greater than me. I was thinking about the things that I can do for my community, the things that I can do in my business, the things I can do in my family. Can I lead with conviction? But it has to be something greater than me. And then that second question that I asked myself as I was preparing was, can I follow with integrity to help people I may never meet? Can you do it? And I'm thinking, can I really have the integrity to follow people that I never meet? That's what equality does. You don't get wrapped around who you know, but you think about something much greater than yourself. Can you do it? And that's my question to myself. And then the third question that's driving my discussion today is, can I compliment someone and not compare? I would say one of the greatest advantages that we have as humans, men and women alike, is being able to come in and support one another. When they all did the peaceful march over 100 years ago, men and women alike, they were coming together to complement one another, to stand strong. They took actions not based on how they could get over or not based on how they can compete with the person walking next to them, but they took action based on the fact that if we do this thing together, We can be a complement to make the change so that equality isn't something, again, that's foreign, but something that becomes natural. So that's what matters to me this day. Those three questions that I'm posing to you all are the questions that I posed to myself as I was preparing to discuss this with you all. Next slide. Next slide. So here's a little thing, vote, and I love that we are also looking at the ERA. So vote. Has anyone ever thought about it that the same letters that's used to say yes are the same letters that are used to say no? Vote and veto have the exact same letters, but they have a different influence. But I want today, I'm going to ask you all not to think about voting in the context of politics. I don't speak to politics, but I want to speak to the fact that a vote has an influential decision that can impact a life of someone like myself. So don't think about voting as you're going into the room or you're casting a ballot. I want you to cast a decision. I'm sorry, there's background noise. Thank you. I want us to think about voting as the ability to cast a decision that can bring an influence to someone's life. Remember, they're the same letters, but different influence. So when we start thinking about those letters, vote and veto. One person's vote, I should say, allowed me to join the Marine Corps at 17. And you're probably thinking from the political standpoint, well, I'm going to tell you that vote was my parents. It took my parents to say yes. They voted yes. Their one decision, their one vote, their one yes decision changed my life. I don't know what a veto would have looked like because that's not the life I lived. But the one vote, their one ability to exercise their ability to say yes to something that matters made a difference in my life. The one person that voted that allowed women to get equal pay, that person changed my life. Because and as a member of the military, I didn't have to wonder if I'm serving next to my male counterpart and he was making more. No, that one person's one vote made a difference. That person's one vote that decided that as a woman, I had the ability to enter into a field that many others didn't have the opportunity to enter. And during my time as a Marine, I had the ability to be the very first woman to pick up the rank that I picked up in, was a subject matter expert, the very first woman, and especially the woman of color. But somebody's vote gave me the equal right. Again, not voting from the ballot box, but voting to take an action, voting to make a decision that changed my life. So I'm going to ask this as I'm going through this. Remember, I've already asked you the question, whose shoulders are you standing on? And now my question is, what decision can you make? What action can you make that can really change someone's life? You don't know how that life is going to change based on you saying yes. It's just amazing to me that the same power it takes to say no that will close a door, that will stop somebody from going into a destiny that's way beyond them, is the same power that a yes can bring. So can you say yes to even the person that you've never met? Remember, I go back to that question. Can you say yes? Next slide. So as we talk about vote, and I'm going to use an acronym VOTE, and I'm going to start with V. And when we start talking about equality, I know in my life, for me, equality meant being able not to come and having to compete against a man. I brought what God made me to be, which was a woman. And so I brought that value to me. And as we're going through and we're looking at value, it is never determined through competition. When men and women were walking together, when they were coming together, do you really think they were thinking, well, I wonder if she can pick me up? I wonder if he could pick me up. It was, no, we want equality to pick us all up. If we allow equality to pick us all up, we can come and complete one another and we can remove the competition. We are in a society where competition seems to be the thriving force. But when we understand value, then I know that I don't have to compete with you because what I bring to the table is what you need. You may bring the mix, but I'll bring the eggs. And when we come together, we complement one another to make things greater. That's what equality is when it comes to value. We want to capitalize on our strength and not try to find ways to separate us. That's why one day, as your president said, and I go back to what she said, one day, maybe this would not be a celebration because we will understand the value of everyone who comes to the table. Allow me to bring my value to your table right now, and you'll see that together we can do it well. And we need to be able to do it well, but I need everyone to take their part, do their action, and allow me to bring my part. I remember bringing my part even now. I have a business mentor, and my business mentor looks nothing like me. My business mentor is a white male, but he saw a value in me. And because he saw a value in me, he didn't think that I had to compete against him to get a contract. He didn't see where I was his competition, but he saw that I was his complement. And so what I have, I could bring to his company, and what he has, he can bring to my company. And together we're bringing value to our nation. We're bringing value. And that's what we got to understand. The power of equality comes with value. Next slide. And then there's an O in that word vote. Remember, we're not thinking politics. We're thinking about the ability to make one decision, that one decision that's going to change someone's life. And O is optimism. And if you're reading this now, you're probably thinking, what is she talking about? Optimism is knowing that someday creates the mindset for one day that evaluates the need for actions today. So what am I trying to say there? So often we think someday things are going to change. Someday things are going to work out. But if you get the mindset that someday only requires one action, one vote to bring things into place, one vote to cause someone's life to change, one decision that's not a veto, but a decision to move forward, we can get that mindset, and we'll know that one day becomes a someday for someone. And so then we understand, well, how do I get there someday to become today? You got to be optimistic about it. Find those actions to say, you know what? I can do this because I know that my someday is going to be one day, and I'm going to start taking action today so that I can realize it. We all have a part. As I said, there's a call to action. And when you say call to action, we must never, ever forget that it takes us doing our part. It can't be someone else marching and they're looking for you. It can't be someone else asking you to start a business and you won't do it. It can't be someone else. Optimism requires you to get involved. So I'm going to say it again. I'm thankful that my mentor, he saw a someday in me. He saw a someday in my business, that someday you will have that business that you dreamed about. So let me help you today reach your someday. So he voted yes. He made that influential decision to say yes and partnering with me to help me so that now my someday, guess what? It is today. And I am such the proud owner of PQ Consulting because someone saw my someday and had the mindset that I'm going to help her because one day it's going to matter for her. And so that's where he is with me. And that's where I want to be for those that I come in contact with. And I pray that you are the same way, that you come in contact with them as well. Next slide. Tenacity. As we're looking at the word vote, T for tenacity. What is equality without tenacity? What is equality without having to push? What is equality without having to overcome? What is equality without pushing again? What is equality without going beyond confusion? What is equality if we don't understand that there's going to be some rejection? But every rejection should give you the momentum you need to keep pushing forward. That one decision you make to never let it go. That one decision you make to help somebody, to be that influence. That one decision that you make that may cause confusion for those who are trying to stick with the old. That one decision that you make can change the life of so many. I know for me, the one decision that was made by my parents changed my life. And then the one decision that was made by whomever in Congress that decided that women can join the Marine Corps, whoever made a decision to allow women to even engage in fields that we would never had the ability to do it, whoever made that decision, they decided that rejection was no more. They decided that, you know what, she has value. She has optimism that one day we know we're going to need what's in her. So I will stay in the trenches. Tenacity means to stay in the trenches. Stay in there. Keep pushing through. Go beyond what you see right now. Go beyond the confusion. Right now, this call to action required us to be peaceful, but to be forceful. Right now, I want to make sure that my daughters and my granddaughters, that again, there's certain things I don't even want them to even know. They shouldn't even have to know how to negotiate to get equal pay. The only thing I want my daughters in the future to know is that because you're qualified and because you have the position, you now have the ability to get what you deserve. That's what I want my daughters to do. That's what I want them to experience. So I understand the power of tenacity. Tenacity. Never let rejection take away your tenacity. Never let confusion cause you to sit in a place where now you don't want to do. And then there's an illusion. You know, the illusion of tenacity means this. It means that people are believing that there's something there that does not exist. There's this belief that all things are created equal, but then it's not. But tenacity will allow us to see, no, it's not an illusion. Tenacity will allow us to push through that we shall have the equality. I'm telling you, I am so thankful. I am so thankful. There are times right now in my business that I'll say, man, this is so hard. I don't want to do it anymore. But then I have the right person, the right mentor in my life that is helping me to push. And it's because of that tenacity that I get beyond the rejection, because rejection sometimes just comes to make you better. And so I'm so thankful that I have the tenacity, and I'm thankful for the shoulders for which I'm standing on, from the women and the men that came years ago. They came years ago that is allowing me to sit here today, allowing some of you to sit there today. If it were not for their tenacity, we would not even have the organization that we're celebrating today. We would not even have what we have today had it not been for tenacity. We have to understand the power of our vote, the influence we have to change lives. And remember, it is not at the ballot box. It is in your own home. It is in your own community. That's the power that tenacity can bring to change lives. Next slide. And equality. I would be remiss if I did not deal with equality. So what is equality? Remember, we're talking about the power of the vote, the power of one influential decision. Equality is this. I want you to think that because we are human beings, that right there should make everything equal for all of us. But until we get to that point, that we can indeed realize that is not equal yet, we have got to be pushed. We got to keep pushing to realize that there's something so much greater when we see people as our equal. There's a point that we must see that each and every human must come together to understand that equality brings something greater for us. Equality gives us more. Equality helps us to go into a bigger, greater venture of what we can do. But it requires us understanding that we are first all humans. Whatever I feel, you feel. Whatever you feel, I should feel. And if we can get into that place, we will again see the power of equality. And that's where I am as with my children and my grandchildren. I want them to understand that you are a human first. You are a human. So also think about the next human you're engaging with. So allow your vote, allow your influential decision, allow it to be so positive that it makes the change that someone needs to reach their own destiny. That's what equality is. So we have got to be able to vote. So here's my question. Next slide. As I prepare to wrap up here. I've said a lot to you right now about the power of vote. I talked about value. I talked about optimism. I talked about tenacity, and I talked about equality. And I talked about all of that on a day where things were so important. We're a day that we're celebrating women. We're celebrating the fact that advancements happen, but it's not done. We're celebrating what it means to be able to come equal to a table. We're celebrating what it means to be one that can stand together with everyone. We're celebrating that today with Women's Equality Day. We're celebrating those shoulders that I am so proud to stand on now, because of what they did then is bringing me to here. And I want to be the shoulders that my daughters can stand on one day. I want to be the shoulder that maybe your children can stand on one day. But now, how do you answer the call? So now I'm going to give you some takeaway questions. Remember those same questions that I posed to myself. I'm going to ask you to pose those same questions to yourself. Can you follow with integrity so that others can reach their goals? Can you follow with integrity so that other people can find their dreams? Can you follow with integrity so that someone can find purpose? Can you follow is the question. And what does follow mean? Can you follow the footsteps of those giants that we're celebrating today, where they had the tenacity, they saw equality, they were optimistic on what to come, but most of all, they know the value that they were bringing. Can you follow? And then the next question that I want you to ask yourself, do you have that conviction to look at something greater than yourself? Do you have the conviction that although you may sit and you're wondering, what can I do? Do you have the conviction to do something? That's what I do now. My doing something, I started a nonprofit organization. And in my nonprofit organization, we focus on providing shoes to the children in our area and education. I'm big on education because I know the truest value that you have is knowledge. Because you can have all the wealth in the world, but if you don't have the knowledge on how to use it, you will lose it. So that's my part. I have the conviction that I want my children to know in the community. So that's why I started my nonprofit organization. So I'm going to ask you, do you have the conviction to do something greater than yourself? And here's that final question. Number 3, can you bring all your talents? Are you willing to bring all your creativity? Are you willing to submit all your ingenuity and your understanding to come in and embrace, lock arms with someone else who is answering the call, and the only thing they need is your support? Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to bring your talents, your creativity, your ingenuity, your understanding? Are you willing to bring all of that so that you can be the complement to someone who's already answered but needs you? It may be a young teenage mother that needs you. It may be a young teenage boy who needs you. We don't know who's needed. We don't know what's needed. But are you willing to bring your challenge? Are you willing to bring your talents to the challenge is what I want to say. Are you willing to do that? That's where we got to understand that you're not competing against anyone. If we can remove the competition, then we can understand that whatever you bring to them, they're bringing to you. And together we can do it right. That's what equality is. Going beyond the us against them and coming together to knowing that it's not an us against them, but it's a us together making one. Are you willing to bring everything to the table? And as you answer those questions, then go and find the answer to the next question. Are you willing? Are you willing to find those things that you're attracted to so that you can take actions? Find your attraction to take action. What is it you're attracted to? What do you need to go forward? What do you see in your community? What do you see in your neighborhood? What do you see in your job? What do you see in your household? What are you attracted to make sure that equality can exist? What can you do to take action? Because we can't just have the call and no one answers. Or we can't not just have the call and we sit and let everyone else take the action. Because 101 years ago, someone, women and men alike, came together. And even in 2021 and beyond, we're going to need men and women alike to come together so that equality Equality no longer becomes something strange and something we have to fight for, but equality becomes so natural that no one would even have the discussion anymore. What can you do to take action? So that's my call to action for you. Answer those questions and then find your attraction to take your action. I turn it back over.